Metacritic Roundup. Just got one game to talk about this week in the old MCRU. Metacritic Roundup. MCRU. That's our version of the MCU. It's Overwatch 2. No need to beat around the bush. It's Overwatch 2. It currently has a Metascore of 81 on the PC. On the... Looks like that's all... That's all it's got because there just aren't a whole lot of codes for other platforms. Makes sense. It is, I think, primarily what people call a PC game, just for its, Blizzard is a very PC company, you know what I mean? Or PC-focused company, rather. And also, this is just the beta, so, I think that this is kind of odd that it has a Metacritic score at this point, but hey, there's enough to it that I think it constitutes a review. We'll talk about it in a second. I've been playing it this week for work and also in my free time. Have you touched it at all?
Yeah, I've touched it very, very briefly. On all. Guess which system I've played it on?
The Switch?
Yeah, man.
What's wrong with you?
Well,
Why?
actually, it's not that it's wrong. There's anything wrong with me. I'm a pretty normal human being. However,
Sure.
The Overwatch game was on my Switch because that's also the only place I had bought it, and it updated to Overwatch 2 because
Yes, it did.
Overwatch 1 is bye-bye.
Yeah, it's gone. It's just completely gone.
It's gone. It literally became Overwatch 2. It said download from the cloud on the Switch. The file has copied over.
So here's something interesting. I thought that I had lost all of my skins and other unlocks because when I played Overwatch 1 originally, I wasn't doing it with a BattleNet Blizzard account.
Oh.
I was just doing it with my Xbox account. Mm-hmm. And then in I think 2020 or 2021 maybe, they required it so that if you were playing Overwatch, you have to use your BattleNet account. So I made a BattleNet account, I don't know, when I played Diablo Immortal for work. And so when I started up Overwatch 2, it's what's your BattleNet stuff? And so I put all that in, and then it was cool, you're synced up, you're all good to go. And it's no, where is my all the skins that I got? I got so many of those. Where did they end up? And they're they're all here. So what I did, I put the Overwatch 1 disc into my Xbox, and straight up, it just takes you to Overwatch 2. That is... it's just gone. 100%. This disc takes you to Overwatch 2. Which I guess is kind of cool, but I worry for anyone who buys this, a physical copy. Not that people are really buying physical copies of stuff anymore, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I do wonder what that would be how many people that would impact. But, if you're buying Overwatch at a Five Below, that seems like a game you would now see at a Five Below.
Yeah, it's pretty old at this point.
But I guess if you do it, you're not up to date enough to realize that Overwatch 2 is free to play. So
yeah, I guess so.
As long as you're not spending full price on it. But yeah, I don't know. That does seem a little. I get why they're doing it, but couldn't they have just turned the servers off? Or is there any benefit to making this happen? Is it easier to do this?
To my understanding, it's just a lot easier to keep your user base because it's not a whole new client. And then also, here's a spoiler alert. Overwatch 2 is not that different from Overwatch 1. So you don't have to it's not uploading, but you don't have to change the things that are going to stay the same. You don't have to change. You just keep them there, right? Mm-hmm. And then you just patch in the changes that are coming to the maps and the heroes and the menus and stuff like that. Because there's still a lot of the same UI elements and stuff in Overwatch 2. But Overwatch 2 on Metacritic, sorry, I think I said this before. It's got an 81. It has been well reviewed by a whole lot of different websites, but a lot of them are saying this is still, it's Overwatch 2, so it's a lot of Overwatch 1. It's still missing that PvE stuff that looked so cool that has been shown off that we're still waiting on. And there's just not enough additions to Overwatch to make this feel like a real sequel. A lot of people have been saying it's Overwatch 1.5, which I think is pretty accurate just based on hey, this is the same game. But what I think I find a little bit more interesting than just straight up the critic score, because I think 81 is respectable. I don't know what the original score. Let's take a look, but I have to imagine
It was a 90,
high.
a 91, I believe.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's like.
I mean, it was
super solid.
It was Game of the Year at Game Awards, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
in a
I think
good
for the first
year.
Game Awards.
In a good year too for games.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, Overwatch. I mean, I think it goes without saying that Overwatch, the original, was industry defining game since it came out.
Oh, totally. And I mean, it really paved the way. Correct me if I'm wrong, for like the loot boxes and stuff like that, which then paved the way for like the controversies surrounding that. And then, in my opinion, like you could probably make a line from Overwatch 1 and its loot boxes to like Star Wars Battlefront 2 to the free to play model of like Fortnite and Apex and stuff, and then like to their battle passes and whatnot. Do you know what I'm saying? And like how you're going to monetize, and instead of saying like, well, let's get rid of like the random chance of this all and just make it a more solidified thing. But the user score for this is pretty remarkable. Do you have this pulled up? You want to read this for me here?
It's a 1.3, everyone.
Yeah, it is a 1.3. There are 732 negative reviews of Overwatch 2. And to be honest, I kind of get it. I'm not saying I don't like it, because it's Overwatch and it's great, but the user experience has not been very good. When did you start playing it?
Today. So this is at this point Sunday.
Yes. So at this point, it's pretty quick to get into the game. Did you have to wait at all?
No, I didn't. But the part of the problem was I first played it today because when I looked at my Switch and it had updated, what was that, on Tuesday?
Must have been something like that.
It just wouldn't load in.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, but that was like when it like first came out. But
so it's almost been a week, and like for the first 6 days here, like you would have to wait 25 minutes to even get into the game. And then you'd start a game and you'd play a full game and you'd start a second game, and then you'd get kicked and disconnected from a server and have to wait 20 minutes again to get into the actual game. Or sometimes it would, you'd be waiting in line and it says your place in line, and then you finally get to 0 people in line, and then you see that screen for like 10 minutes, and then it kicks you all the way back and you're like 20,000th in line. It has been a messy launch. Blizzard has talked about how they've reported like, hey, we're having some cyberware attacks like on our servers and stuff, which is not helping any of this. But it has been pretty abysmal to actually get in and play this game. I kind of expected it. That's how it is with all of these giant mega multiplayer games, right? Like as soon as like a new season goes up or something like that, like there's always issues with that. And for a game as highly anticipated, I think, as Overwatch 2, like it is, in my opinion, to be expected. I'm not saying that that's an excuse for not having your game up and running. Like it's Blizzard. Like they know how to make multiplayer games. They know how to handle servers. But I do get it. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, there's you get the score, or you get that they had some issues.
I get why they had the issues.
I get that they had issues, but I mean, it is Overwatch, but there was plenty of beta testing before this. I mean, there's plenty, like we're still kind of in early access, aren't we, with it? It's still not the 0.1 launch, which makes sense to a point that they're not having like a delivered final product and stuff like that. But I don't know. I understand why people are upset. I just think it's weird that we're getting review scores at this point. I think, to me, that's the bigger issue with it, because it's
from users or from
everyone,
critics?
really.
Yeah.
Because it's not like the full game yet, and it's still like, I guess maybe it is a live service game, so because of that they can like choose to like review it whenever, but it just feels like this is like part of the game. It's like when the Halo multiplayer released, that wasn't all of Halo Infinite, right? That was part of the game that they released early, but like this is still like a work in progress, I would assume.
Not to get too like insider baseball here, I think this largely has to do with the fact that like if you like the game isn't out in 1.0, right? Because we're still missing the PvE and other stuff as well. And like, but people are still looking for Overwatch 2 reviews because for all intents and purposes, the game is out, right? Like it, like the regular person doesn't care if it's the 1.0 version or not. Like, you can play Overwatch 2, go play it, right? So I think people are Googling Overwatch 2 review, like to see if it's worth their time, to see if they mention any like the issues with it, whatever. And so I think that it's for that reason that like publications want to get something up, because hey, sometimes you just have to say, well, it's not fully out, but we're going to do a review for it anyway. You know, I agree with you. What I appreciate is when places will do like review in progresses, just like briefly clicking through the top ones here. I'm not really seeing that like as what these reviews are being like touted as, but I think that's something to take into account when you are looking at these reviews. The user score, I mean, like, I'm not saying that I get it being so low, because like it's just clear, like, you know what's happening. Like, they're having server issues, and they've been very clear, like, hey, we have these, you know, these cyberware attacks and whatever. So to me, it is super understandable to see why they're having these issues, but I do get why people are frustrated, because Blizzard, you know how to make like multiplayer games. Like, you've been doing it for so long. Like, don't you think that they'd be able to figure out a launch like this? But
you would think so. And I think there is part of that discussion too about like, should this game have had, should it have been a bigger jump from Overwatch 1? Like, should it have been a more like substantial change in what it was? I think, you know, personally, the changing to 6 to 5 seems to be a big deal, specifically like with the high level competitive aspect of things.
Yeah.
But
like, competitively, I'm sure it is, but like, I'm a pretty hardcore Overwatch fan. Like, I love Overwatch, and to me, I don't really feel a difference between 5 and 6. I just don't. Like, I guess it feels like there's less on both teams, because there literally is, but like, I don't really feel that being like, I don't feel that as a huge change in the actual like
game
flow of the game.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I'm saying?
And on top of that, that's like a mode change. It's not so much like everything changed, you know, like I feel like Overwatch speaks a lot more to like the hardcore competitive scene than just the casual or even hardcore gamer who just plays this for fun with their friends.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's really what Overwatch has been for the past few years. And now it's just kind of like this new thing is like a way to re-market and bring casual people back in. But the problem is when you have a bad launch, you bring people back in and then they're like, this is horrible. Why would I want to stay here? So I don't know.
Yeah. Go on.
No, I just don't know about long term what this means for the game and its popularity overall.
I also, to be honest, I don't like the real major changes they've made to it that I think are like the big highlights of why it is Overwatch 2, not Overwatch 1. Namely, like, we talked about this 2 weeks ago, maybe, the battle pass system and the fact that characters are locked when you start it up. It's just not a good way to play. Like, it's just not a fun way to play this game, because I don't know, when you unlock new characters, it's kind of like, well, I've put all this time into like learning these old ones, or learning these ones that are just automatically unlocked. And one of my favorite characters, Sombra, is locked behind, I think, 120 games I have to play to have her unlocked.
Holy moly.
So, like, to unlock characters in this, there is one character, Kiriko or something like that. You get her when you get the battle pass, the premium battle pass, excuse me. And then the rest of them, like the legacy characters that are locked, you unlock by playing matches. And so it starts small, like play 1 match, and then play 2, then 5, then 10, then 15, then, you know what I mean? Like, it just keeps going up and up and up. But the one but like, there's just it doesn't feel like you're actually unlocking stuff. Like, you are unlocking stuff, but it feels like you're unlocking like the necessities of the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I will say, like, every time you win, that counts for 2 matches played, but it's just not a good system, because they just arbitrarily locked certain characters behind this like amount of playtime that you have to do. And like the one that requires the most amount of playtime requires you to finish 150 games. Like, That's a lot, y'all. Like, that's so much. And like, I'm just like imagining like the people who played that character, like, okay, good luck. I guess you have to play a bunch of other characters before you can even dip into your, like what you were doing last time, like in the last game. I don't know. It's just, it feels so arbitrary and like not well thought out and just like, oh, well, what if we just lock some of the characters? And it's like, well, why? Like for what? For what cause?
And not,
you know what I'm
not,
saying?
not only locking characters behind significant like barriers in order to do like,
Yeah.
I mean, if what they want you to do is at the beginning of the game, maybe like try like a bunch of different characters. Maybe I could see an argument every game you play for the first 30 games, you unlock a new character or a new thing. You know, like
Yeah.
I could maybe see that argument just to like make it less intimidating for those new players, but also just a slower drip of things. Maybe try a couple new characters and things. But yeah, that just seems like a huge barrier for specifically returning players.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's just, there's no reason to do it other than to just, I guess, like make it a little less intimidating for newcomers. But like, y'all, like 120 to play as Sombra, a character that no one likes other than me. You know what I mean? Like why? And the most frustrating thing is on top of that, the rest of the game's fucking great because it's Overwatch. Like it's Overwatch 1. It's just one less character in it. Like one less person on your team.